Hang on.
So welcome back. Just for a quick update, we're trying to get Andrew back. We're just going to wait a few extra minutes. Meanwhile, you can have this view of kind of the lead battle, the battle for second place between Victor Miranda, Ricardo Rico, and Lawrence Zabadil. All of them around 2 to 3 seconds behind our race leader, Dino Filippa. As you saw, Bruno De Carmo had a small incident, quite a big incident, I should say, heading into turn number 2, and unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be out of contention. Currently 2 laps down in 19th place. And so far, this is the race rundown. Victor Miranda doesn't seem to be getting too close to Dino Filippa. That gap seems to be around 2 to 2.2 seconds. So far, this is our top 4. We're looking at Victor, obviously our reigning champion, trying to get the number 71 and obviously trying to get himself into a racing winning position and, well, hopefully trying to work it from there. Meanwhile, you can see there Ricardo Rico and Lawrence Amadil applying pressure to our reigning champion. And this is so far the race for the pro guys. Pro-Am is currently being led by Wayne Castile up in 6th place, and obviously the championship between all of them is between Ryan Kerr, Miguel Colon, Trace Donhor, and Mitchell Johnson, all of them from 9 to 12 in sequence. So the championship contenders for the Pro-Am are very close to one another.
They're still working on trying to get Andrew back. But there's big contact right there. The replay, Wayne Castile and Matthew Dench coming together there at the top of the hill there in the chase. Both of them look like they're going to be able to keep going here. Coming back to the live feed, it is Dino Filippa with a 2.2 second advantage at the front of the field. And yeah, Victor Miranda 2 seconds back, but he's still heading this trio of cars. Ricardo Rico actually right now under attack from Lauren Zavadil as they head into turn 2.
Yeah, those three are still in I guess, a race-long battle so far, almost 15 minutes into the race, and Victor cannot seem to close that gap to Dino Filippa and cannot seem to open the gap between him and Ricardo Rico just behind. So quite an interesting position he finds himself into. Obviously, he's 3 points behind overall in the championship, so he needs not only to close to Dino, pass him, and obviously he needs these guys right here also to pass Dino Filippa if he wants a chance at that championship. The contact that you just saw on the replay between Matthew Dench and Wayne Castile obviously as well changed the complexity of the Pro-Am lead. Obviously, Wayne was leading before the contact. Now he dropped all the way down to 14th place, and Ryan Kerr, the championship leader, took over the Pro-Am lead up in 7th place. Miguel Colon, Trace Dahlhorn, and Mitchell Johnson are right behind him in 8th, 9th, and 10th. And obviously, Emerson, those are the guys that are also fighting with him on the championship. Only a few points separate Colon, Dahlhorn, and Johnson, but quite a few points separate all of them to Ryan Kerr.
Right, and again, Kerr doing just what he needs to do. He really just needs to finish without incident, right, to hold on to this title. Strawhorn, who needs a massive day over Ryan Kerr to claim the title, especially in Scott Reiser's absence. Ryan Kerr, for the most part, is just kind of settling in here and trying to roll with it, just trying to finish the race out. He is sitting pretty right now, and he now takes over the lead in the Pro-Am category, as you said, with Wayne Castile and Matthew Dench incident. He's only heading this category, though, by 0.6 of a second. It is not pressure-free by any means.
No, absolutely not. And obviously he knows that the drivers behind him, not only the first driver behind him, Miguel Colon, Trace and Mitchell, they're both, in that championship fight. So it's, I guess, imperative, important that Ryan, keeps his car pointing in the right direction, keeps a safe gap between him and those guys to make sure he has a nice and easy race up ahead. But obviously it's going to be far from nice and easy. He just, I guess, wants that safety cushion between those guys. And obviously with all of this, looks like if the race finished like it is, I think Miguel Colon would jump Trey Dahlhorn in the championships, could promote him to 2nd place overall. So a lot is still yet to be decided. Is obviously over 33 minutes still of racing, so I mean, quite a lot yet to happen at Emerson, but still, it looks promising so far, but we're gonna have to wait and see if all these guys can keep a clean race from here to the end. And I'm gonna knock on wood on that because I don't want to jinx anyone on the final race of the season.
Yes, certainly. And again, one of the toughest circuits out there, one of the most iconic circuits in international motorsports. And again, there is literally trouble could be waiting for you at any point on this track. You see right now, we're watching off the gearbox, the rear camera here, off of Ryan Kerr's machine. You can see just how close Miguel Colon is getting to that rear end. He is pressuring Ryan Kerr here. It's not much for Miguel Colon at the moment, other than it would get a current class victory. You actually have Fabio Zamperlini going around, or some issue for Fabio. He has lost some time. Lost some position now. He's down in the 13th position. He's in the pit lane, so we have pit stops occurring here.
Three guys, looks like.
Yep, we have Wayne Castile in, Tony Kanaan is in, and Nick Armstrong, he's staying out. He's going to the first corner.
So it looks like a few guys came into the pit lane. I'm not quite sure if it was to fix some sort of issue or just, an early stop. But yeah, looks like we're going to have one car already exiting. So could be an early strategy right here, Emerson, for these guys.
So pit stops beginning here in the final round of the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Championship. We still have, of course, most of the front runners still to make their pit stops, and I imagine they're still seeking a pit stop time somewhere around, the 20 minute mark later on into the run, as long as they can go. Some of these drivers are just trying to get it done early so they can focus from here to the end of the race, the final 31 minutes or so.
And I wonder if Victor right now, you can see losing a bit of ground already, 2.5, 2.6 seconds behind Dino Phillippi and Emerson. So I wonder if at some point, Victor is going to, I don't know if he's pushing 100% because the gap seems to be, increasing between him and Dino. And I wonder if he's going to have a change of strategy, maybe trying to save a bit of fuel from here to the pit stop cycle, just trying to save a few meters. Maybe, I don't think, the offset of him losing this time to Dino Phillippi will, be enough to jump him or even gain him back sometime on the pit stops. But I wonder if we're going to see the switch up in strategy from the number one.
Absolutely. Again, Victor is looking for what he can get to catch Dino Phillippi. That time, it's been fluctuating between the 2 second mark. Now it's up to 2.7 seconds. It's steadily opened up over the gap, but of course this can change with a slight difference of strategy, or just less time in the box, or a simple mistake, even a small one that doesn't cause Dino any damage, and that could be the 3 second advantage that Dino has, which I believe Victor was a little sideways there coming through the 5, 6, 7 section. Very sideways, lost about 4/10 right there to Dino.
Yeah, he lost quite a bit of time on that first sector. You can see him kind of fighting the car on some sections. It looks like it's... I'm not quite sure if that's how he wants the car to behave, a little bit loosely, just fighting it. But certainly, I don't think that's going to be the fastest way around this race course. And you can see right there, he's still under pressure from Ricardo Rico. He still cannot shake off, those two drivers behind him. And he cannot get close to Dino Phillippi. So, it's a really tough situation. Victor, luckily, I guess, in a way, he's not losing the championship. He's just not winning it at this point, right, Emerson? He's not having that frustration of seeing it run away from his. He's just not being able to catch it.
Yeah, certainly. It's got to be aggravating. At the same time, you see the gap to yourself and the leader continue to open. You're also continuously being pressured behind. Ricardo Rico and Lorenz Avidu, they had their little battle, but that's since kind of died down. I think everybody's just kind of riding around. I like to think that a lot of these guys wait to make these big moves until after pit stops, because quite frankly, that there's a chance for your competitors to have a mistake in the pit stops, a miscalculation of fuel mileage, speeding on pit road, some sort of penalty, especially with the pit entry here at Bathurst is very difficult to get into. So I'd like to think that's the mindset for a lot of these guys that are running nose to tail, or the fact that it's also just a 50-minute race and we're not even at the halfway point. With that being said, we're not at the halfway point yet. We've had Fabio Zamperlini, Wayne Castillo, Alex Persian, Tony Kanaan, and Lowy Santi all make their pit stops at this race. So we still have the top 11 still yet to make their stops.
And I kind of jumped up ahead of you, so I'm sorry for that. But obviously as well, I think some of these guys, they just don't want to be, leading the pack. They don't want to be punching the air. They want to be behind because you get the benefit of the slipstream. You get the benefit of being able to save a bit of fuel by lifting and coasting. And I feel like, if you're Dino Phillippi or if you're Victor Miranda, you're not going to have that benefit. You're just going to be punching the air and you're just going to be wasting a bit more fuel, which we've seen time and time again on these kind of races that it just ends up costing quite a bit of time if you're not gambling on the pit stops. Meanwhile, we switch up to the number 87 of Miguel Colon. You can see how close he is to Ryan Kerr just ahead of, so applying that pressure, Emerson, that he needs to apply. He needs to force Ryan into some sort of mistake. And we know that even a simple mistake around Bathurst could be deadly, and it could be exactly what Miguel needs to maybe snatch this championship.
Absolutely, and he has been doing that, right? He has been absolutely plastered to the rear end of Ryan Kerr's Porsche. He is continuously putting on the pressure, forcing Ryan Kerr to be perfect. Ryan Kerr cannot have an off corner, or Miguel Colon is going to be right there to pounce. And it's not just Miguel Colon. This is a train of cars. You have Trey Drawhorn, you have Mitchell Johnson, all in line. Ryan Kerr, this is about as pressure-packed of a situation as you can be in when it comes to leading a class or a category.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we've seen this too often on the Pro-Am class, just all four guys nose to tail like this, where a simple mistake could really drop you off the order, and let alone being the four guys that are technically fighting for the championship. So it's a really big pressure that Ryan is definitely feeling right now, and he's seeing all those guys on his relative, and obviously seeing those headlights on his rear view mirror and a rear view camera as well. So it's definitely a tricky situation, but so far he's handling the pressure just fine. You can see he dropped around 11 seconds to Eric Goldner ahead, but he doesn't need to catch Eric right now. He's in a different class, and he needs to be in the position he's now leading. He could even drop, I think, those 4 positions and still lead the championship, but definitely he does not want to do that.
Certainly not. Nothing to to risk it. If if you can easily hold this position, why not? Now, easy being relative to having to sit in the pack of cars. Of course, the more cars you're ahead, the least danger you're in here. But again, the mountain here, Mount Panorama, very treacherous, as it is very difficult driving conditions, and then at night vision is limited. And again, well, here actually this is Cologne coming back on Ryan Kerr. He is. It looks like Cologne might have this this backside of the course figured out, or at least he has it much more to a T than Ryan Kerr does.
I was just gonna say that, Emerson. It looks like Miguel is just faster on the one part of the circuit, the whole part of the circuit where you pretty much cannot overtake. So this must be really frustrating, seeing you catching up, the driver ahead on those parts where it's pretty much impossible to overtake. And then obviously when the opportunity comes, sometimes you drop a little bit. He's much closer right now than he was on the previous laps, so this could be an opportunity. He takes right here, he takes it a little bit wider. That's going to end up losing him at least a tenth of a second. So once again, a small mistake right there, it's going to cost him. Meanwhile, Victor Miranda ends up losing a position to Ricardo Rico. Down looks like on the chase. He's going to be trying to fight back. Looks like on the final corner, he's not going to be able to do so as Ricardo goes defensive. So well, the reigning champion drops from second to third place, and you can see there Lawrence Zavadil really close, almost thinking about going down the inside of Hell's Corner, but he's not going to do so. So, Emerson, if that was planned or not, this could work in either, his favor, Victor's favor, or against him. Being behind someone would allow him to save fuel, but also, could lose him quite a lot of time.
And it looks like Lawrence Zavadil, he's got a run here, and Miranda's going to cover it off. Near contact. He actually does get into the back of Victor Miranda. This is tight. Lawrence Zavadil is actually going to be the big loser out of turn 2. But they were getting very close. I'd imagine Rico just finally had the run going into the chase, that he finally took advantage of Victor Miranda. And Miranda, if this was planned, as he said, to save some fuel, we're very close to the end of this fuel window, so it can't be much fuel that he can save in this position. And now it looks like Rico is starting to drive away from Victor. So if this was a plan to save fuel, it is starting to not go according to plan.
Yeah. At this point, seeing the gap increasing could be due to penalties, I should say, to damage. I'm not quite sure if Victor ended up touching some sort of barrier that ended up costing him a bit of performance, but you can see that Ricardo Rico absolutely driving away already 1.5, 1.6 nearly ahead of Victor Miranda. So it could be some sort of damage from a contact that he ended up carrying, and if it was, this is going to be huge, and we're going to see Lawrence Zavadil absolutely driving past him, and you can see there it's less than 1/10 of a second, the gap between those two. And I think, yeah, there you go, Lawrence is going to go down the inside, and he's going to have the outside for the chase, and I don't think Victor will have too much of a fighting chance, although he's going to close a bit of the door and remain in third place, I should say, for this lap. But I think, Emerson, that car is damaged.
Welcome back to where we initially planned on doing things. The way we initially planned on doing things. Emerson, JP, thanks so much for the interim plan B. Interesting the way things work out, but Dino Filippo leading the way 4 seconds ahead of Victor Miranda. 20 minutes to go. Pit stops looming. There's a lot to talk about. And down on the Pro-Am side, Ryan Kerr doing everything he needs to do to execute to hang on to this championship. And JP, I feel like the one thing we forgot to mention here that is oh so important with Ryan Kerr is he's an Aussie. He's in Bathurst. He is, this is a home race for him, just like Scotty Angelo in the previous race, the amateur race. This is a race that Ryan is ready for, so much more so than so many other drivers in this field. There's a battle behind these guys. Mitchell Johnson, Trey Drawhorn, side by side through the first corner. Johnson trying to make that pass, Drawhorn trying to defend. But this absolutely feels like a race that Ryan Kerr should win, or at least should execute in, and should hang on to this championship with, as we've got a pit stop here from Matthew Dench, another Australian.
Yeah, absolutely. The two Australians at least we have on the field. Obviously, Matthew Dench just came out of the pits, 9.92 stopped so quick. Stop there, right there for the 283. But yeah, Ryan was doing everything he needed to do, is still doing. He's currently second place in his class. He lost the lead, looks like it just on that intermission that we just had, to Miguel Colon. And Matthew rejoins the racetrack, looks like in 12th place. Obviously, he had that small incident with Wayne Castile early on in the race that definitely set him back a few positions. But yeah, as you were mentioning, Ryan was doing everything he needed to do, still in a championship winning position in 7th place, 2nd place overall in the Pro-Am side, I should say. And yeah, he has that home track advantage, that home court advantage, and so far he's executing. But Miguel, quite surprising to me, at least, Andrew, showed up, a lot of pressure to Ryan, got past him, and so far seems to be driving away.
And this is still a surreal kind of experience, seeing these guys in the dead of night working around Bathurst. But you can see the dead of black ahead. That is 14 seconds from Miguel up to Eric Goldner, a very solid pro top 5. And you know what? I'll eat some of the words I said earlier, that maybe Miguel didn't quite have what he needed to go be top 5 on pace. Well, maybe not top 5, but he's 6th place right now overall, and that is a stellar run. While we have this opportunity, we can finally go through standings properly. This is how these guys came into this evening. Dino Filippo with that 3-point advantage over Victor Miranda, who is 3rd place, and it's going to take a big swing in the pit stops to change that. Dino with a 4-second lead right now over Ricardo Rico. That's going to be tough to change. It doesn't just change, with a quick pit stop. I'm not sure Victor really has anything right now for Dino. Dino has just been so good the back half of the season. He was good in the early half too, JP, but something has just changed as of late. And on the Pro-Am side, the purple side, Scott Reister here not in attendance, unfortunately, but he got a couple of wins finally in this series, and I think definitely was right up there, deserving this championship, but not able to battle with Ryan Kerr this evening, as we've got a battle here on screen. Let's take the standings out of the way, and you can see Mitchell Johnson still working on Trey Drawhorn, not able to make that pass just yet.
This is an interesting battle right here between those two, because this could be deciding on their, position on the championship. Obviously, Trey is 4 points ahead of Mitchell Johnson on the championship, but it's still good to see those two going at it. Even though they lost quite a bit of time to Ryan Kerr, they're still going at it, and they won this track position, Andrew, for bragging rights at the end of the day as well, and for the final podium position on the Pro-Am class. But as I was talking to Emerson, having those 4 and now 5 Pro-Am drivers, pretty much on a straight line as we had before, was something that I don't think we saw too much in the season. And it was certainly nice to see all the championship contenders, nose to tail.
Yeah, we saw some train racing at times, but not like we're used to with the North American Racing League. That's definitely, I think, fair to say. We have not seen the big draft trains trying to save that fuel as we used to see, so definitely a bit of a difference. I don't disagree with that point at all. As here's a problem, Lawrence Zafadil, as Dino Filippo comes down the pit lane. Very interesting timing for Lawrence to have a problem. The car looks okay, I think, but he was definitely out of line. I don't think he hit anything necessarily. We lost a little bit of time maybe as Dino Filippo comes into the pit lane. Eric Goldner with him. And we'll see when Dino re-enters the racetrack. This pit timer is climbing up there, 9-10 seconds. He had no draft in this opening stint. And here we go. Pits are opening for everybody. Here comes Ryan Kerr. Eric Goldner, as I mentioned, on the pit lane as well.
So you can see most of the guys that didn't have any help, any, I guess, fuel saving, as you mentioned, draft throughout the first 10 are coming in. Ryan Kerr obviously was pretty much, leading the pack up until the last few laps on the Pro-Am side. So he comes in. Eric Goldner as well, he was just running his own race outside the top 3, top 4. And you can see all of them out around 11, 10-second pit stop time. We're looking for these guys, Andrew. So those that have fuel saved could be gambling a bit more. Matthew Dench, I think, currently holds the fastest pit stop time for now, and he's currently in 10th place right now.
Yeah, 9.9 second stop. That's the best of anybody, but he's still well behind the guy who came in from first place, Dino Filippa. And we're talking about a difference of 30 seconds between Dino and Matthew right now. Dino Filippa only 23 seconds behind Ricardo Rico. That is astounding. That is incredible. That definitely took a lot more than 20 seconds for Dino to get down the pit lane. It was a 32-second trip, so that kind of tells you what's going on here. As Ricardo Rico is actually losing a little bit of time to Victor Miranda. They come down through the chase. I think Dino's got this one wrapped up, JP. I don't see many scenarios where this changes.
Yeah, I mean, either his gap was just way too big on the first stage. He was just controlling the pace. He got pole. He was the fastest guy in qualifying. He was clearly the fastest guy on the first stint. No one was coming close to his pace. And I think, just a major mistake on his own could ruin this championship. And I'm going to knock on wood a lot of times right here to make sure that doesn't happen, because it would certainly be a shame. Meanwhile, these two are coming into the pits, Victor Miranda and Ricardo Rico. We're going to take a look at their pit stops. But as we were talking, Andrew, I don't think any of these guys could jump, Dino Filippa. There's no way they could, I guess, gamble so much in fuel. You can see
it is a second quicker there for Ricardo on his stop.
Yeah, but you can see right there, even as he exits, look at that gap, 2 seconds. So he closed up 2 seconds, but could he close up the another 2 seconds he needs on the remaining 13 minutes of the race?
Miguel Colon in the box. Trey Drawhorn right in behind. Mitchell Johnson behind him. So these three all coming in one line. Fabio Zamperlini stays on track. We'll see when these three drivers exit. There goes Colon, and Drawhorn's going to drop to the back of the 3. Oh, that's tough for Trey.
And you can see it was just a difference of tenths of a second between him, retaining that position and losing it. You can see that Ryan Kerr, he's going to come out just behind Colon. So this is going to be an interesting drag race. Ryan is going to have the momentum, and he's going to take back the lead of the Pro-Am class.
The Pro-Am battle is this. Ryan Kerr on the outside. That is Miguel Colon on the inside, not trying to give that spot up, but out of the pit lane, Colon gives it up, and Ryan Kerr runs wide at turn 2, gives up the inside, and lets Colon get the advantage now down to the cutting side by side for the Pro-Am lead, and Ryan Kerr will slot in behind the New Englander. So Miguel Colon puts on a class right there. That was incredible.
That was amazing defense. That was just aggressive at the perfect level. Meanwhile, Andrew, some driver that just rejoined this battle is Wayne Castile. He was just behind Ryan Kerr. And if you recall, he got pole, and he was quite comfortable in the lead of the Pro-Am before the incident. So this guy definitely has the pace to maybe pass these two and win. So it could be an interesting three-way battle right here for the lead of the Pro-Am.
Well, Wayne hasn't pitted just yet. That's the problem. At least not that I've seen. Maybe it was right before I came back in, but I have not seen Wayne Castile on the pit lane. So if he still has to pit, and considering Fabio Zamperlini hasn't pitted yet either, that could be a formidable strategy there for Wayne Castile. But here is Fabio, headed down the long Conrad Straight. And into the chase. Fabio now into the 6th position, so good on him now, but wish he could be a little bit higher before pitting. Without having to stay out to try and get this. Actually, I'm being told that Fabio and Wayne, I guess, were that much earlier. So you're right, JP. Wayne Castile absolutely has the pace to contend here. I guess that they must have pitted just before I came back into the session. Very interesting that they were able to pit that much earlier and hang in with these guys. Usually, we see these guys take the late pit strategy option as Castile pops out of line.
We saw Ryan Kerr just kissing the exit apex and losing yet another position. Luckily for him, he has yet another teammate behind him, Andrew. But if you're fighting for the championship, what do? this position. Johnson, you can see right there, is going to get the slipstream. Whether or not he's going to battle up into turn 2, we're just going to have to wait and see. But you can see how close they are between one another. Johnson thought about it, but looks like he's not going to go through the move just yet.
They all work through turn number 2. You can see the little pocket of light moving around this course. 10.5 minutes to go. And these guys are battling for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th positions. 5 Pro-Ams in a row leading this class. 4 seconds behind Matthew Dench. And Ricardo Rico 2 seconds behind Dino Filippa. I'm not sure anything is going to change there, JP, but we can see exactly where these two are. Dino headed down the Conrad Straight.
And that gap has increased half a second since we took a look after the pit stop. So Dino still having the pace, later on in the race. He led the whole stint, and he's currently leading and extending that pace. Meanwhile, you can see there Victor Miranda dropping even more to Ricardo Rico. So it looks more and more comfortable for the number 71, Andrew, but we still have 10 minutes of racing, so still quite a few laps and quite a few corners for anything to go wrong. Again, I'm going to knock on wood to make sure nothing happens, but yeah, it's looking good.
I guess the wonder is, does Dino have any lap cars he might run into at some point? The answer is likely no. Tony Kanaan is the final car on the racetrack currently in the 16th position. He is 1 minute or so, it looks like, behind his nearest competition. That would be Armstrong, which is actually... Oh, no, sorry, that's tracking gap behind. I'm silly. He is 6 seconds behind Santi. There we go. That is what I'm looking for. So 6 seconds behind Lowy Santi, as it looks like Trey Drawhorn may have just had an issue, possibly in the chase. He's now 3-4 seconds off of the rest of that group. But Tony Kanaan, as I was trying to get to, is only 1 minute 20 behind Dino Filippa. I don't know that in 8 minutes they make up 4 seconds on Tony.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make up that time as well. Looks like we're going to be taking a replay to, I think it's going to be Trey Drawhorn, isn't it, Andrew, to make sure what happened.
Yeah, Drawhorn here. This is up the mountain. This looks to be when he lost that time. And this is a suspect corner. Yup, I've done that so many times. He is lucky to have hung on to this race car. Wow.
Wow.
Trey,
that has to be...
You don't save that.
No. I mean, what?
That is
I would
incredible.
give him 1 championship point just for that save, because that was amazing. How many times we see guys just hopping onto that curb and, just completely losing the car. Somehow, even with that 360, Andrew, I mean, that was straight up impressive. Wow.
That is save of the year potential. That is incredible. We need to get a clip of that for social media. That is nuts. I've never seen anything like that. One more time here, Trey Drawhorn in the train of cars here for the Pro-Am drivers, running 12th, and pops the curbing, coming down to Skyline, and just does a spin. I can't believe that. That is insane.
That is just beautiful to see. I mean, I'm pretty sure his heart was in his mouth, I mean, mid-save, Andrew, but it worked, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be happy to only lose 3 seconds after all of that. Meanwhile, looks like we're having a switch up.
Ryan Kerr back ahead of Miguel Colon.
Wow. This came out of pretty much nowhere. Ryan retakes the lead. Miguel now has to kind of attack and defend at the same time as he now drops to second place with 7 minutes to go. Andrew, we definitely have a race on our hands for the Pro-Am.
Big shout out to FTF, by the way. FTF.GG 9 minutes ago. I just now saw it rating us with 15 viewers over on Twitch. Thank you to those guys. I didn't even know they paid attention to us over here at Pit.tv. But big thank you to everybody over there. I see them on social media on occasion as we're watching this battle. This is 9th and 10th, and if you're curious as to what you're watching, this is the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Season number 2. This is the final round of the season, round 8 of 8, here at Bathurst in the night with Porsche Cup cars. Miguel Colon battling here with Wayne Castile. This is Daniel Morad's team, Moradness, with Oceana Coffee on the door, battling heads up with kind of an underfunded driver, if you will, an independent driver in Miguel Colon. Castile to the inside of the cutting, a little bit of contact. Oh, Castile's in the wall hard.
That was, I'm not quite sure if that was contact, but I think that was way too ambitious right there. And Yeah, and you can see right there the damage. His car is not pointing right, and I think that's going to be a tow straight back to the pit lane, Andrew. So what was in a fantastic comeback race, unfortunately came short with less than 6 minutes to go.
A big thank you to our partners here at the North American Racing League for allowing this season to happen. We haven't talked yet about them tonight, but they do so much for us, allowing this series even to take place. And, we would not be here every Thursday night covering fantastic racing action with some of the best drivers and teams on iRacing without Virtual Racing School, Maradness, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting. And they all do so much for this series in different parts and pieces in their own ways. Of course, JS Consulting provides custom website and app development, including iRacing website design and hosting. Find JS Consulting at johnsedlak.com. And Tam Liveries offers custom packages for some of the best livery designs in iRacing. Used by pros and amateurs alike, you will definitely look good on track. And of course, Virtual Racing School, our setup partner for this series, doing so much to give the amateurs a fantastic setup as we've seen for the last 2 seasons to race on. Those guys run fixed. Over here, they still help out the pros and pro-ams, giving them a base setup to run if they would like to. And I've heard from multiple drivers that they do still run that setup in these races and are competitive at least to a point. So I'm sure there could be a little more speed found in those setups because they're built really for the AM guys to just have a good race. But VRS, I use VRS in so many different situations, be it NIS and the NASCAR iRacing series for random races when I decide to do that, or even endurance races here on iRacing. VRS is so valuable for baseline setups, and as well telemetry. I think that's where really it comes in for everybody. Being able to log your telemetry versus what other drivers are doing, what pro drivers are doing to get around your favorite track and your favorite car. VRS is so helpful for that. And Mirandus, if you're just feeling like you need a little bit more racecraft coaching potentially, Mirandus has got you covered. They can get you not only up to speed but beyond speed and get you some quality racecraft along with it. Daniel Morad, an IMSA WeatherTech racing driver, does so much for that whole program over there. Stu Giuliano Romagnolo, who was in this race earlier tonight, unfortunately had an incident, is now retired, is a big part of that program as well. And we see so many of their drivers battle week in and week out, including Ryan Kerr, who is currently leading the race in Pro-Am, along with Mitchell Johnson, and so many others week in, week out. So VRS, Maradness, Tam Livery, JS Consulting, doing a bunch for us here at Pitstop.tv and the North American Racing League. And our partners here at the channels, Whiplash Media, SimCams, SimRepMarket.com, and Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. 3 minutes to go, JP. This is your rundown with Dino Filippa leading, Ricardo Rico second, Victor Miranda third. Filippa and Miranda are championship competitors. I'm not sure anything's going to change. Dino's got this one wrapped up.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, something extraordinary would have to happen in the next 3 minutes, Andrew, to make sure he doesn't win this championship, because it looks so controlled so far. It just been his race, and I think it could be said, it's been his, second part of the championship, as you mentioned. Something definitely clicked, and he's been doing a stellar job, especially with how fierce the competition is at Pro. So a fantastic job so far from the number 71. He still has a few laps, but I mean, what a drive has been so far this race and so far this season again.
Watching Dino work around here, still early in the lap, relatively, and let's go on board with the driver. We haven't seen much of this view. Now going to work at a skyline, thankfully in much more control than Trey Drawhorn was that one lap. I still think that's save of the year for sure. I can't believe Trey didn't crash in all of that. I did that a few times. I told you earlier I was practicing for this race, just getting back up to speed at the course in a Formula 1 car. I did that a lot in a Formula 1 car and had many parts and pieces go flying, but glad he kept his car together as Dino works out of the Forest-Salvo, and we'll head down Conrad Straight just one more time before taking the white flag this evening. Not only on this race, but on the season, JP. What a season it's been. Way back at Okayama to start things off, then Circuit of the Americas and all the rounds in between. I never thought at any point we were going to have Dino Filippa and Victor Miranda battling this one out. I knew they'd be involved, but these two in this format, man, it's crazy how this season has went down.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been full of ups and downs for both of them, especially when they came together, quite a last round, actually. And, just coming up to, on the last round, only 3 points separating them. It's just been fantastic. As you can see there, Dino takes the white flag for just one more tour of Bathurst. That's all he has to do, navigate the mountain up and down one more time to make sure he crowns himself a champion. And obviously, Victor came in as the reigning champion last season, to this season actually, and is going to come up just short of winning back-to-back championships. Meanwhile, the Triple Eight of Ryan Kerr, Andrew, well, he's been doing everything he can. He capitalized on Scott Reister's mistake last week that put him in prime position to win this championship, and he's been delivering, well, the whole race. He lost the lead momentarily and quickly took it back, and now he as well is entering the final lap of the season and is in prime position of taking the Pro-Am Championship.
On board here with Ryan Kerr, headed down the front stretch to turn number 1. And really, it was never a wonder of if he was going to lose this championship, I think. Once we saw kind of where the car count was at and we had a few drivers drop out, it was never going to work out, I think, in Miguel Colon's favor, unfortunately, or Trey Drawhorn. And Ryan's going to power away, I mean, clearly, deservedly, to a championship here in the Pro-Am class, winning tonight at Bathurst if he's able to wrap this one up. Just one lap to go, but definitely would have liked to have seen what these guys could have done on even footing in this final round. As here we go, down Conrad for the final time. Dino Filippa still with a 2-second gap to Ricardo Rico. He has been so good this season, and really only came on, I think, from about round 3 or 4. He was good to start, but I don't think he was necessarily the championship favorite from the drop of the green flag this season at Okayama, and since then has definitely shown us why Car 71 is going to wrap up a championship this evening. Dino Filippa through the final couple of corners and exiting the chase. Car 71 is going to wrap up a very deserving championship. Yet another race win for Car 71 here in the North American Racing League. And Dino is a champion in the North American Racing League Porsche Cup season number 2, winning at Bathurst.
And what a race, what a way to win the championship, Andrew, with such fierce competition alongside him. Ricardo Rico, Victor Miranda, all of them putting so much pressure. And now we switch our eyes to the Triple Eight of Ryan Kerr, who, if I'm not mistaken, just took the lead of the championship on the last round. Came in here as the championship leader, only 3 points separating him from Scott Reister. And now he's going to round off the final few corners, Andrew, after an amazing drive as well from him, full of challenge, full of pressure to also win a championship for him in the Pro-Am class, as Ryan Kerr rounds off the final corner of the racetrack, the final corner of the season. He also sees a checkered flag, and he also sees his hands on the championship.
Fantastic win here this evening for Ryan Kerr. For both of our championship drivers, our champions, Dino Filippa and Ryan Kerr. Fantastic stuff from each of them as they will burn things down. Here's Ryan Kerr burning it down. Congratulatory bump there from Miguel, who I think was maybe second, well, probably third best this season. Trey Drawhorn was fantastic. Scott Reister as well. Ryan Kerr was just consistent enough to hang on, and while maybe he had some rounds that he struggled, stayed consistent, stayed where he needed to win this Pro-Am championship, and will likely be a pro next time, if there is a next time with this car. I know the North American Racing League has plans in the future, but it's a matter of where they or what they decide to race, and we can only hope we get more Porsche Cup racing, as Trey Drawhorn will do a burnout there as well. I think deserving of a burnout or two, as he got a couple of race wins this season. And just Tony Kanaan, oddly enough, will come down and wrap this race up on board with the TK, as he'll wrap up this season for NARL here at Bathurst. Comes across the line in 14th.
And what a season it was, Andrew. Full of fantastic racing. And, there you go. And I mean, what a fantastic season it was. Amazing battles, some I guess you can say incredible instances as well. Amazing saves, just like the one we had a few laps ago. It was certainly a fantastic one, and I was so glad I was part of some of it, I guess we can say. And here's to some more. But well, here you can see the unofficial race results from tonight's race. Dino Filippa, the number 71, wins the race, and also the championship on the pro side. Ricardo Rico's finishing second. Victor Miranda comes home in third place. Lawrence Zavadil in fourth, and Eric Goldner in fifth place. Fabio Zamperlini is going to finish off in sixth ahead of Matthew Dench. And the Triple Eight of Ryan Kerr is going to finish in eighth place for him to win the Pro-Am class ahead of Mitchell Johnson and Miguel Colon.
So you got a couple of champions there in positions 1 and 8 as the Triple Eight wins in Pro-Am. And down at 11th place, we've got Trey Drawhorn. I think everybody's favorite potentially for next season in Pro, and he was so good after missing a couple of, the first 2 rounds at Okayama and Circuit of the Americas, and came back to be in this battle. I think if you were to take an average score, Trey Drawhorn has the rest of the field beat, certainly. Such a fantastic drive from him. Thomas Rayleigh, 12th place this evening behind Trey, then Lowy Santi, and Tony Kanaan wraps up from the 14th spot. He struggled all night long, it looks like, with Alex Persian, 15th, 3 laps down, just ahead of Wayne Castile. Nick Armstrong there in the 17th position, ahead of Roger Resende, Bruno De Carmo, Giuliano Romagnolo, making up your top 20, just ahead of Lucas Souza, who it looks like did not make the call for the start of this race. Already, drivers are filing in to talk to us. JP, it looks like we're going to begin things off with an Aussie. It's Ryan Kerr winning in Pro-Am this evening, taking home the Pro-Am trophy. And Ryan, congratulations, buddy. You just wrapped up a championship at your home track.
Hey, guys. Yeah, definitely a good race today. I definitely think I could have done better in the actual race itself, but yeah, I'm stoked to take the championship, for sure.
And it seemed like it was a battle mostly of consistency for you. We didn't always see you racing for the race win, but you don't need to. You've got to pace yourself in a season of 8 races like this, and it looks like you did exactly that, powering away to a race win when it mattered most. Yeah,
that's it. That's exactly it. You're in it for the long haul, not the... Yeah, you can't just send it every single race because, you don't want to get taken out. But, yeah, paid off. Just decent race results every week. We'll try to, and that's it.
And how much of a help is it being under this Moradness banner? I mean, you guys do so much, I'm sure, throughout the week. You do so much for so many drivers on iRacing, all the coaches at Moradness. What is it like being under that group and having so many of these fantastic teammates around you?
Massive help. Definitely a big thanks to Stu, who runs the coaching, and also Scotty, who actually took out the win today in AM. Big congrats to him. For helping fund the whole coaching. Big help. And also Dan for organising the whole thing. Daniel.
Well, I'm being told that you're waiting to do the jump here. You can go ahead and start driving.
Yeah, definitely got to do the jump. Have to. It's tradition. All right, let's go.
So I'll ask one more question here on the fly. Yep. How do you wrap up this season as a whole? I know we talked about consistency, but just kind of what emotion, I guess, describes this entire season of racing?
I've definitely got to pick up the pace, I think, if we want to go into the pro category. But yeah, it's a bit of a tough question. Sorry, I'm just trying to focus here while we take the jump. It's a bit dark.
Straight line right into the sand trap, and yes, finish this thing off with tradition. Ryan Kerr taking the jump here at Bathurst. Buddy, a really strong season for you. That's one way to not kill things off, but wrap things up, I think.
That's it. Thanks, guys, for putting the broadcast on every week. Been awesome. Also, big shout out to Scotty for putting on the whole NARL season. Been awesome.
Hey, we appreciate it, Ryan. Congratulations this evening, wrapping things up from your home track here at Bathurst. Best of luck in whatever comes next for you and here with the North American Racing League. Can't wait to talk to you in future seasons.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
A fantastic effort this evening from Ryan Kerr, finishing things off. I remember when he was still new in the middle of last season, came in, had some scuff-ups. I think Charlotte comes to mind mostly, JP, where there was a bit of a battle between he and another driver out of Oval Turn 2 down the backstretch, and they had a bit of a moment, but so cool to see him wrap things up this evening and take a victory, and not just a victory, but a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to see. And obviously, as you mentioned on the early parts of the interview, on his home track as well, has to be a bit extra special, doesn't it? Just like we saw on the GT3 side, we saw Gustavo taking the victory and the championship at Brazil. Now we saw Ryan taking home the victory and the championship in Australia. So it's always nice to see that.
Dino Filippa on the way, just wrapped up a race win and a championship for himself in the pro category. JP, here is driver of the 71.
So, Dino, it looked easy from our point of view. How was it from your point of view? You got pole, you led 99% of the race, and, you took home the championship.
Hola, gente. Sí, la verdad que de afuera puede haber parecido fácil. La verdad que no sé a cuánto puedo haber llegado mis pulsaciones, pero cuando salí de la montaña en la vuelta de quali, que venía para hacer muy buen tiempo, la verdad que no daba más del nerviosismo y pude cerrar la vuelta bastante bien. Perdí un poco en las últimas 2 curvas, pero bueno, eso me dio la pole y ya sabía que con esos 2 puntos me daba un poquito de margen para en la carrera si algo no salía bien, salir unos puestos atrás de Víctor y bueno, gracias a Dios salió bien la carrera y me pude escapar.
Bueno, voy a continuar en español, pero para ficar más fácil. Durante la corrida, tú controlaste todo, el ritmo, la distancia. ¿Cómo fue? ¿Cuán difícil fue? Especialmente porque eras noche, no día, entonces la visibilidad was baja. ¿Cómo fue su corrida?
Sí, la verdad que cuando empezó la carrera, Bruno iba muy fuerte, así que ahí venía un poco nervioso. Aparte sé cómo corre Bruno, entonces venía un poquito más nervioso. Hasta que, bueno, cuando él se pega en la segunda vuelta, creo, ahí es como que me tranquilicé un poco, sabiendo que Víctor estaba un poquito atrás y pude hacer mi ritmo. Una vez que ya le saqué un poco de distancia, 3 segundos, ahí sí iba controlando un poco de no tomar muchos riesgos, pero al principio iba tratando de clasificar todas las vueltas.
Com certeza. E agora que tens o campeonato, o que espera em tu futuro? Irás continuar em NARL ou irás procurar outros desafios?
Y la verdad que muy contento con el campeonato. El campeonato creo que van a ser ahora el GT3.
Com certeza.